Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
I thank you for coming on today. I have a very audacious individual today, if you will. A very exciting individual. This gentleman, he has taken a startup to $1 billion in annual sales. He is an author, entrepreneur, and executive leader who delivers practical and proven, audacious, unheard of ways to produce high-performing businesses and successful careers. A lot of us, sometimes we gotta get out of our circle, our box, if you will, to become something greater. And I think this gentleman can really help us to accomplish that today. I introduce to you today Roy. Roy, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm honored to be here, believe me.
Cool. I appreciate it. So, you in your bio, it talks about audacious, and let's talk about that word first, right? So what would you say is your definition of audacious?
Well, my mantra is be different or be dead. That's pretty audacious.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get across is success is a function of being bold. Mm-hmm. It's a function of being courageous. Mm-hmm. And it's a function, quite frankly, of being different in a way that people care about. Not from a narcissistic perspective, but in a way that people care about. And quite frankly, the world, I think, is quite mediocre in that respect. I'll be quite blunt. I mean, the world is basically a function of herd behavior. Mm-hmm. And we need to get away from that if individuals are to prosper and if the economy in the world is to be a better place. It's about seeking uniqueness in a way that matters to people. Audacious, I mean, that's just the word that's me, right? I got that stuff flowing through my veins all the time. It's driving me to basically cast away the status quo, to disrupt tradition, and only from the point of view of forcing the narrative around being different, and to get people out of the comfort zone of being the same as everyone else, because that's not, in my perspective at least, not a good place to be for anybody.
So, unfortunately, society tries to put us in a box, and we feel as though we only could be successful if we stay in there. So how would you encourage an individual personally, because before we can get our business to be that place, we got to get there ourselves. So how would you encourage someone to even get to that point?
Yeah. And first of all, let me recognize what you say, because it is absolutely true. We have been taught to comply. Mm-hmm. We have been taught to conform. The education system turns out cogs in a wheel, quite frankly, that have been taught that if we apply the formula in the textbook right, then we get an A. Right. The problem is that doesn't foster risk-taking. It doesn't foster audaciousness. It fosters sameness. And that's okay if that's what you want to be, all right? All right, and I acknowledge there's a huge component of people sitting underneath the normal distribution bell curve right in the middle. They don't want to go out to the edges. They don't want to be audacious. And that's fine. But for those people that are looking for an opportunity to be successful in a way that nobody else does, that's the area where we need to go. And so from an individual perspective, there's a lot of simple things that I do. Okay, first of all, whenever I'm confronted with a challenge, I always ask myself the question, how can I do this differently? It's a simple little thing. Just keep it first and foremost in your eye. How can I do this differently? And all that does is trigger, I call it my be different lens. It just forces you, right, to always have that, first and foremost. And in starting small, it's like tomorrow, do one thing differently. The day after that, do two things differently. Just get used to the fact that you're going to be motivated to something that doesn't exist today. Okay, the I don't know factor, quite frankly, is in my experience, the major driver of innovation. Right. And so be in the I don't know mode a lot, right? And you will be motivated to look for different solutions. The other thing I will say to you is stop gargling Google. Now, what do I mean by that? All right. I mean, stop copying, stop imitating, start creating. And the gargling Google metaphor for me is like whenever people, are looking for a problem to a solution, generally speaking, they go to Google and find out how everybody else is doing it,
Right.
and then they apply it under the guise of innovation, Maurice, which quite frankly is intellectual dishonesty in my view. It's not innovation, it's copying. Right. And even a fast follower is still a copycat. They just run faster. That's all.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So ask yourself, how can I be different? Stop gargling Google. Try things. Fail a lot fast. Learn from that. And then move forward on what I call a nano-inch basis. So there's a lot of those kind of simple personal things because we sit in a climate that is fostering conformity. And I understand how difficult that is. But there's a lot that we as individuals can do. Right, to start to move to that be different persona, that audacious brand position. Don't wait to get permission, okay? You'll never get permission. And don't tell me you can't do it, right? Because nobody will let you do it. You can't do it because you don't want to do it, right? So your audience, it takes pain tolerance. I mean, hell, pain is a strategic concept in my world because when you're pushing a be different narrative and agenda, you better believe that most of the world don't want you to succeed. And so if you can't tolerate pain, it'll never work. Okay, so you need to be prepared for that. It's not going to come easy.
Right.
You need to get an army of advocates behind you supporting what you do, but you can do it. Inch by inch, you can do it.
So in that, because for myself, as I listen to that, all I want to know is the feedback or how people can deal with the feedback. Because a lot of times we don't want to offend anybody or want to, or want to be out of the norm as what you're talking about, because we don't want to be too different, too off the beaten path, if you will. And a lot of times we get a little frustrated in hearing that feedback come in and we get discouraged. So how would somebody deal with that discouragement in that feedback loop?
Well, first of all, you have to decide what is meaningful feedback to you. Okay, for me, it was never to be accepted. For me, it was always, oh my God, Roy, what are you doing? Okay, I see that what is that crazy thing that you guys are doing in your business?
Right.
What is hiring for goosebumps? How does that even relate to HR philosophy? Okay, that kind of feedback for me told me I was on the right track. Okay, so if you're offended when people criticize or question what you're doing by creating a new box, then you need to reassess whether or not you want to be on this journey. Okay. And so, I mean, the first step is, in my view, is to say, you know what? There's an opinion crowd out there, and that's fine. That's not going to be my metric for success. My metric for success is going to be how many times have I uniquely satisfied what other people care about? And I'm going to count those things. Oh, good. I did 10 today. Okay. Regardless of how people reacted to that, I don't care. What is important to me is the people I've chosen to serve. If I've done that in a unique, special way, chalk one up. Okay. That means you're on the right track. And so don't be beaten up, okay, by the narrative of tradition. Don't be beaten up by people that promulgate the textbook because all they want to do is they want to hold you back. You cannot be held back if you have this stuff running in your veins. Believe me, I'm the guy that's done this, right? I have, and I'm getting old too, Maurice, and I'm getting tired.
Right.
But I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I want to continue to transpose, continue to change people, and get them outside that glut of people inside the normal distribution curve, right where the abscissa meets the ordinate. It's my math background.
Cool. So in that, so now how do we turn that idea into our business or what we would like to do in our career? How do we become audacious in that space? Because again, it's still a box. So one thing that we're dealing with as individuals is society, parents, house, whatever that might be, right? That's one box. But then you have your corporate box, one way or the other, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. So now you have that corporate box. So how can you stand out in whatever you're trying to accomplish at that space?
Yeah. So look at I'm the context guy. I don't believe in tactical driven activity, and
Mm-hmm.
most of the world operates on tactics. They chase social media
Mm-hmm.
solutions. They chase artificial intelligence solutions. But my observation is most of the time it's done outside of a context of strategic purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have to do is start out with what is it that you want to be when you grow up as an organization or as an individual. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at careers, it's called a career plan. If you're
Mm-hmm.
an organization, it's called a strategic game plan. And I had to actually create my own process because traditional planning was A, too expensive, and B, it took too long, and C, it really didn't set you apart from your competitors, right? Because it was promulgating, all the traditional strategic planning 101 things. And so
Mm-hmm.
the place to start is to define your context.
Mm-hmm.
And I've created this really cool tool called strategic game planning that if you're a small business or if you're a person thinking of starting a small business, that's where you need to start.
Mm-hmm.
You can create a meaningful strategy that will allow you to act immediately. You can do this within 48 hours. I work with small business clients all the time who are very reticent to work on their business because they're so busy working in their business, right?
Right.
But when I explain to them, we can do this in 48 hours. Can't you give me 48 hours of your life?
Right.
They feel guilty and they give me 48 hours. We create a strategy. That strategy now is the context. Why? Because it's built to be different. Okay, so you have to have a strategy that moves you right from that glut of people over to the right side of the distribution curve, which is the side of being different. And it's just done with strategic purpose. It doesn't happen at a tactical level, Maurice. It has to be strategically planned in an execution format, where it becomes not a function of the intellect. It becomes a function of the emotion and the passionate side of the brain, because that's where action happens. You cannot think yourself into high performance, my friend.
Right.
You have to do it and do it and fail and try and do it and do it. Unless, of course, you're not a mere mortal. Like most of us are mere mortals that operate in red oceans, my friend, not blue oceans. We operate in red oceans, and that's where we need the help. Okay, so for your audience, the place to start is to create the context that makes sense for you. Okay, and if you'll take a look at my stuff, and I've tried to create a compendium of content to help people. You won't find it anywhere else. I'm the only one talking about being different or being dead. I'm the only one that talks about the only statement, being one of one, and how do you do that? And yet, it's so important when you start out. There's too many people that says, hey, this is a cool technology. Let's see if we can monetize it. No, that's not where you start, because technology is available to everyone. And chances are, if you go down that path, and I've done a lot with startup CEOs to know this, is that they're all the same basic technology idea. What's missing is the strategy that employs the technology to achieve remarkable things that people care about in a way that nobody else does. Now, you see the way I strung that strategy?
Yes.
That's the way you have to think. We're doing things to serve others in a way that will surprise them, blow them away, right? Realize and recognize that we've satisfied what they crave and what they lust for. That's the level that we have to be at if you really want to be different.
So I think there's a word that you had mentioned, and I purposefully left it out of your bio because I figured that we was going to cover it. And that word is only. I think that word is very important. I think it's very critical in understanding where that individual is going. So why would you use the word only, especially in this place where everybody wants to be copycats? Why is the word only important?
Well, it's important because everybody wants to be a copycat. So my observation is, and it's kind of ironic in a way that you would think in a world where competition has never been more fierce, where customers have never wielded as much power as they do today, where regulations have never changed, or not changing, or have never changed so quickly, where randomness and uncertainty have never been so predominant, you would think that in that kind of a market, businesses and organizations would do a better job of differentiating themselves from their competition. My observation is exactly the opposite has happened. What we are now finding ourselves in, Maurice, is a world of undifferentiation.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a world where people, under the guise of coming up with a unique selling proposition, okay, describe their competitive advantage with what I call claptrap words like we're better, we're best, we're number one, we're the market leader. All those words mean absolutely dick to a customer. Okay, they don't mean anything. Okay, when you say I provide the best customer service, first of all, I look at you and I'll say, Maurice, you're lying through your teeth. Okay, what you're doing is you're choosing these words, right, that the narratives of the world are telling you to use, okay, but they are not helpful for a customer. The other thing that's going on in the world of undifferentiation is the use of what I call aspirations. We're in business to serve or to save the home planet. Really? That's your competitive advantage? Or, we're a business that believes in inclusivity. Really? Okay, that's an important thing for you to have as values, but don't you dare trot that out and say that's why you should buy from me, because everybody's going to say that. And so the problem is aspirations and claptrap are being used to define what makes one organization different from the other. And so what I've done is I've created this tool a long time ago called the only statement. It says, we're not better, we're not best. We're the only one who does what we do. It's a binary statement. It can be measured. It can be observed. And it, at the granular level, it says to the customer, it answers the question, why should you do business with me and nobody else? And the answer to that question is, well, because I'm the only one who. Now, the formulation of the only statement is actually the solution to the undifferentiated momentum that we've got going on in the world, okay? And I have to tell you, it's so simple and it works like you wouldn't be. I'm the only one that I created it. I'm the only one that uses it. Well, my clients do now. I beat them into submission, so they have to use it. But it is so powerful because in essence, it becomes your elevator pitch. Okay, and so the process of actually coming up with an only statement is actually breathtaking, quite frankly. It catches people's breath when they finally land on it. It's not easy to do. It needs some help, and we can do that. But it absolutely revolutionizes this whole struggle that people are facing when they have to try and define how they're unique, again, in a way that people care about. I have to stress this. It's not about what you think about yourself. That's irrelevant. That's narcissism. It's about what you choose to do differently in a way that blows your target customer group away. So it's all about serving. And at the end of the day, my experience is that differentiation technique explodes performance. And that's why we're doing this. We're not doing it just to be cool, just to come up with a new concept. We're doing these things. At least I did these crazy little things because I discovered that they were fundamental drivers of superlative performance. We never would have got to $1 billion a year by sticking to the textbook, Maurice. I can tell you that right now because it wasn't working. And I keep telling people, guys, put the textbook down. Put it down. There are other things. Good for you. You have an MBA. Good for you. Now let me show you some practical things that you need to do with that to make a difference in the world. Because if you think by promulgating the textbook stuff and the case study stuff that you've learned will make you successful and add value to the universe, you're wrong. It won't. You'll be just like every other MBA in the herd, practicing the same case studies, reading the same textbooks, and expecting a different outcome. That's a definition of insanity.
Right. So one of the things that I'm listening to, and you said it early on, how can someone not fall into the trap of following trends?
Again, you have to have a purpose. And the purpose is to be a disruptor of trends. If you want to be different, your job is to not be popular. Your job is to be unpopular. Your job is to be remarkable, not unremarkable. Okay, and so juxtapose where the herd is going with you, and that's your mission in life. Okay, so for me, it's a matter of disrupting, being contrarian. I mean, look I don't know how many of your listeners have ever heard of the Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas. So the Heart Attack Grill is a business that's very successful, and it's rating 4.5 out of 5 on TripAdvisor. It's a business, okay, in Las Vegas that caters to the obese. And in fact, if you're over 350 pounds, you get to eat free. I mean, the product line there, okay, consists of bypass burgers. You have a double bypass burger, you have a triple bypass burger, and you have an octuple bypass burger with calories going up and up and up. And they're served with flatliner fries, served by servers that are dressed as nurses and doctors. So they create this mystique and this purpose, right? And this kind of like experience around it. The guy that runs this has completely gone against, okay, the traditional thing that says we got to eat healthy.
Right.
He says, what? No, I'm going to do something else. No, I'm not advocating that. It's an example, though, of what when I talk about contrarianism and disruption, that's the sort of thinking. And so when you ask me, how do you buck the trends? That's how you do it. You ask yourself the question, what would the possibilities be of going 180 degrees, okay, against where this narrative has taken me? Okay, what would happen if I did a right angle turn to the momentum created by this narrative and this trend? So you have to force this. Again, I go back to my, how can we approach this differently question?
Right.
That's got to be inside your head. You're going to be a trend bucker. You're going to be a disruptor. That's where the audacious piece is rooted, Maurice. Right? If you want to be the same as anybody else, then don't you ever use the word audacious in your vocabulary, because I will hunt you down.
and people, I hope that you're listening to this, because he's going to go Liam Neeson on
you. No, kidding. It's just like, again, it's like you have to have it. If it's so easy to let it carry you downstream.
Right.
It's hard to turn around and swim upstream. And yet that's what this is all about. Being different and being dead is all about swimming upstream. It's about pushing rope uphill. It's all of that. But the benefits, okay, and the rewards are so amazing and remarkable that it's worth it. And the other thing I would say is, don't expect overnight success. It never happens. I mean, I'm still working in this stuff. I got grandkids. My mission in life is to be the only papa that does what I do.
Right.
That's my mission. And I work at that every day.
That's good. That's good. Well, here's the thing, Roy. How would our listeners find you and find their only statement through you, or become a disruptor? How can they find you on social media or get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, I have a website. It's bedifferentorbedead.com. And it's got all my social media stuff on there. I blog every week. So there's a ton of content on Being Different or Be Dead sitting on my website. And come and visit me. Take a look at that. And I cover every aspect of my content. There's pages on my books. I've written 7 books since 2009 on this. And my latest one is called The Audacious Unheard of Ways I Took a Startup to $1 billion in Sales. That came out last May, so that's available there if you wanted to look at it. And the other thing is, I have an email address, roy.osing@gmail.com, and I'm really happy to have a conversation with anybody that's curious about this stuff. And I have to say, it's quite heartwarming, because I do get emails from people through podcasting, Maurice, seriously, that says, hey, Roy, heard the podcast. Here's my only statement. What do you think?
Right.
That's awesome. That's a great way to start a conversation. And hopefully I can add value to that. And this is not, for me, this is not a business engagement process that I'm in here, right? I actually want to make a difference in the way people talk about business and careers in the world. I want people to feel comfortable about creating new boxes. I want people to be suffering the pain of trying to disrupt momentum and ask the question, what can I do? Because it tells me the motivation is absolutely in the right place. And I want to help, to be honest. I really want to help.
Cool. Roy, man, I thank you very much for coming on today. But before I let you go, I ask everybody my would you rather question. My would you rather question is, would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
I'll take the 3 doors because it's closer to binary than a fork in a road.
Now, how does that relate to your background by choosing the 3 doors and using the word binary?
Oh, it's all about randomness. See, I'm a math degree, so I believe in stochastic variables. And so the three doors, I look at that and go, okay, there's a 1/3 probability that I'm going to be happy with this outcome. Maybe not, but I got put it this way. I got more tries than a fork in a road. I got 3 tries, right, with 3 doors. And so, I'm about that. And if I don't make it on the first door, I still got 2 doors, Maurice.
Right.
If I don't make it in the second door, oops, I got 1 door.
Right.
and that satisfies me.
Okay. All right. That's cool. I appreciate you, Roy. I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us today. And of course, all his information will be in the description for the show. Thanks, Roy.
My pleasure, my friend. My pleasure.
And continue to listen to That Will Never Work podcast.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?